We go from fun to talking a little bit about WWE, which is probably gonna make some of you click away from this video if you haven't already. But it's gonna make most of you click out of this video because you don't want to hear anything about WWE, just like I haven't wanted to hear anything about them. But I do follow this podcast, What's Wrong with Wrestling. You guys can go check them out. I have made funniest moments from their podcast. You should go check out those videos as well. Those are hilarious. But go sub to them. Go subscribe to them on iTunes. They're pretty funny, and that's the only reason why I still follow them. I have deleted every other podcast that talk about wrestling except for them because they're just hilarious. I'd rather hear them review the show and make fun of it than sit through 5, 6, 7 hours of what WWE is putting out today. And for NXT, I know it hasn't been terrible like the main roster. It's been just carrying its weight like it always has. The thing that I did see last week when AEW ended with Moxley and Pac, when that match ended in a draw, I was like, how do you end a show like that? How do you end it with a draw? You have to black out immediately or do something afterwards. You can't just, oh, it's a draw, and then Moxley just hits a DDT on the ref, and then he just pissed the entire. Now they did release like a 5-minute video or 5 extra minutes of what happened afterwards, and that was all right. So kudos to them for showing that, because I didn't like that ending for AEW. Oh, the match ended in a draw. See you guys next week. Fade to black. No, I didn't like that. But so because I didn't like that, I was like, what the hell does NXT? Please have them do something. So I switch over to NXT, and Finn Balor turns heel on Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. I thought he was going to join the Undisputed Era, but at the time I was like, could he join? Will he join? Should he join? I think he's better off on his own. So I had all those emotions going in at once, even though I just said I never show emotions for a wrestling show. So we don't have to deal with smiley Finn Balor anymore. He's going to be the guy that he is meant to be, this badass character, and I love it. So NXT hasn't been doing crap in a good way. They haven't been giving us crap, I should say. They've actually been putting on good shows, so good for them. AEW doing its thing. A lot of people probably have tuned out. I don't really pay attention to the ratings anymore because you might be saying, are you an idiot for what I'm about to say? But I just found out, or I didn't just find out, I kind of had a feeling about it. But the ratings are only calculated a certain number of households, and it's only in America. It's not the entire end of the world. Now, when WWE ratings are dropping as fast as they are, there's something to be said there. It went from, for a couple of years, even after the Attitude Era, it was steady at a 3.5 to 4.5. It was in that area. When CM Punk was champion, I think in the last 5 years, that has just been dropping steadily and then just rapidly. It's been dropping. And supposedly the ratings are even worse than when the show first came on the air, when Undertaker versus Damien Demento. Who? Exactly. Undertaker versus Damien Demento was in the main event of Monday Night Raw. And supposedly the ratings are even worse than then. So that says a lot. But AEW and NXT, I don't care who gets the better ratings. It just doesn't matter. And it's Wednesday, so who cares? You know what I mean? It's not the Monday Night Wars in terms of how much the ratings really matter. Both shows, as long as they're bringing numbers at that time slot and bringing in, decent amount of viewership, the shows are going to be around for a while. I mean, just look at fucking TNA. They're still around. I don't want to. What do you say? I'm trying to think of the word. One take. Here I go. That's what I get. I refuse to call them Impact. They are still TNA. So yeah. Moving on to WWE. Some WWE talk. Hell in a Cell was probably one of the worst booked endings that you could do. I don't care if it made any sense. I don't care. Oh, wait to see it pay out. Wait to see it pay off. Hold on, there's something to this. Nope. That was one of the worst booked endings that I have ever seen. And I've seen Undertaker, or not Undertaker, Stone Cold count with the referee's hand to count his own pinfall and get the win. I've seen a I think it was a 2-on. Oh yeah, I think he counted himself. I think Stone Cold counted himself the winner. And also, I've seen Stone Cold be the referee for a Kane versus Undertaker match, and him counting both of them down with none of their shoulders being pinned by the other. They were just down, counting a 3 count, and then declaring himself the winner. I've seen all that stuff. But still, Hell in a Cell 2019, Bray Wyatt the Fiend versus Seth Rollins, one of the worst booked matches and endings to a pay-per-view show, WWE, TV, movie, sporting event that I have ever seen in my life. And that actually was the first time that I actually said, you know what, I'm not watching this shit. And I haven't. I haven't watched Raw or SmackDown since. Like I said, I've been keeping up, but only because of the What's Wrong with Wrestling podcast and how funny it is. Other than that, I would not be keeping up with what's going on. And with that being said, I do have a little bit of stuff that I could cover and give my thoughts on for WWE, but it's not really going to be any reviews or what's been going on because I have no idea what's going on. Like I said, I listened to that podcast for the jokes. I don't really pay attention to what the hell's going on in the show. And by the sound of it, every show that they have had in the last 4 weeks since Hell in a Cell, they've said nothing has really happened on any of the shows. Supposedly the SmackDown, the draft, the first week it had like 4 million views, 3.9 million viewers, with the ratings that I just dismissed earlier. But they had 3.9 million viewers, and then the next week it dropped by 1 million, and then on FS1 they didn't even crack 1 million. So that goes to show how crappy their TV show is, and fans finally not watching. At least those fans that actually get counted into the ratings. So I'm glad that there's a drop in viewership, because I remember when at WrestleMania time, I have a video that's called like Boycott Raw Again, give Raw go home show before WrestleMania one of the worst ratings that it could possibly get, and it was still, people were still tuning into it. It still was getting around 3 million views. So I'm glad that it's actually, there's a certain time, because I've heard the saying like, you want it to get better, so you keep watching it to, hopefully it does. But it just gets to a certain point where you're just like, alright, fuck you, you're not changing. Like I said earlier with the whole Hell in a Cell thing, wait for it to pay off. No, there has been nothing from WWE that has made us to believe that they're going to pay anything off. This whole Lana and Rusev shit, what are the odds that it just gets dropped all of a sudden in just a random week? We just don't see them, and the next week we don't hear anything about them, and then the week after that we don't see them again, and then they just forget about it, they come back, they get repackaged, or they just get released. And that's more likely to happen than them actually paying this storyline between Rusev and Lana off. And that was the show before Hell in a Cell, so that's why I know about this storyline. Who the hell are the champions even? You have Bayley doing some terrible stuff, according to what I've seen. Now, when I look at the podcast, I do check out some clips from WWE just because of how idiotic or how funny some of these clips that they say are. So I go back and watch some of them. Bayley has just been terrible. She doesn't have what it takes to be a WWE superstar. She's been a heel for like a month. She was a babyface for all that time. She really peaked in NXT. She hasn't done anything to make us think that she has what it takes to be a WWE superstar. Sasha Banks should be the top star, and they're still not pushing her. Who's the US champion? AJ Styles. The OC. We thought that was going to be something, and then they continue to make Gallows and Anderson clowns. They lost the titles to fucking Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, a put together tag team. And you were like, oh, Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, cool. something for Bobby Roode to do. Oh no, they lost the tag team titles to the Viking Raiders, who throughout the whole summer was facing nothing but tag teams, or nothing but jobber tag teams, and then all of a sudden win the tag team belts. What the hell is going on? Who are the SmackDown tag team champions? I can't even think of who they are. The Revival, maybe? Nobody even knows. Who are the Raw tag team champions? The Viking Raiders. I just said what the hell I thought about them. The IC champion, Shinsuke Nakamura. They gave him Sami Zayn, so you're like, alright, he has a mouthpiece. Now let him do his talking in the ring. Hopefully this will pay off in a match, but again, you can't count on WWE paying off anything, so we still don't know what's going to happen. And Shinsuke Nakamura, ever since he turned heel, they haven't let him do anything that made him good in NXT. When's the last time he's had a good match? I mean, I know he's had a good match on the main roster before the AJ Styles feud. I can't think of which one it was. He had a good match with John Cena. He had a good match against somebody else. I don't know. But Shinsuke Nakamura, ever since turning heel, I hope this is something he's going to turn on Sami Zayn. And they have a great match, because they remember his first match against in NXT against Sami Zayn, Nakamura versus Zayn. That was tremendous. That was probably 20 stars. But yeah, Shinsuke Nakamura, who did he beat for the belt even? I think he beat Finn Balor on like the pre-show of a pay-per-view. Really, you can't give Shinsuke Nakamura and Balor a main spot on the main card? Just some more stupidity on their booking part, in the booking area for WWE. Women's champions. I already said who Bayley. I already gave my thoughts on Bayley. On the Raw side, you have Becky Lynch, who had just fizzled out. I mean, she still has the character of the man, but what has she done that shows any resemblance from the 2018 The Man? Absolutely nothing. She's just been, I don't know, she's been in limbo, basically, since WrestleMania. And even during the WrestleMania build, like I said, I think it's on this channel, I talked about it, obviously. During that whole WrestleMania build, nobody wanted to see Charlotte in that match. It should have been Ronda versus Becky, and them just going back and forth on the mic, and that's all we needed. But nope, she was just hobbling around on one leg. It just made no sense. And then ever since she faced off against Lacey Evans, she was in a nothing relationship storyline with Seth Rollins, and yeah, she's just been stuck in limbo. And now the main champions, Kofi Kingston, lost his championship to Brock Lesnar in 10 seconds, probably even less than that. Why? This just why? For Brock Lesnar to face Cain Velasquez for the title, that you could have had that match for no title. You shouldn't be having that match in the first place. Cain Velasquez versus Brock Lesnar in WWE after they've already had a real fight. Makes no sense. But that match did not need the WWE Championship. And why couldn't you give Kofi a fight like the way Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor, and AJ Styles and Seth Rollins have put up a fight against Brock Lesnar? Nope. You're just gonna confirm everything that the fans thought the whole Kofi run, that he was just a joke, and you confirmed it in 10 seconds. He gets pinned by Brock Lesnar. The title gets taken off of him. And it was a lackluster run. I really thought that they should have made him lose it, at least to Randy Orton. If nobody else, at least to lose it to Randy Orton at SummerSlam. Then he chases it, wins it back. Now he has a little bit of a if this is going to be his only run as champ 2019, at least he would have had that Randy Orton storyline, that we go back and look at and be like, remember that Randy Orton storyline from 2019 when he got his payback on Orton to look back on. But instead they had a DQ finish at SummerSlam for the second year in a row. Samoa Joe and AJ Styles did the same thing the year before at SummerSlam for the WWE title, and then they do the same thing with Orton and Kofi, and then Night of Champions. Nobody wanted to see it again because Orton. It didn't make any sense. Kofi Kingston, his run, I'm sorry to say it, but it was just lackluster. I didn't agree with them taking the belt off of him the way that they did. But you had to be honest with yourself. That run, they didn't make anything of it. Kofi, you could say that, you know, the pancake stuff was alright, it was his character. But the one thing, I remember one time he was stuffing pancakes inside of the WWE Championship. How do you expect us to take you seriously like that? Obviously, it's probably not him. It probably is him. But again, nothing against him personally, it's just the character. How are we supposed to take the WWE champion, the championship that has been around for 30 plus years, that has the lineage? How are we supposed to take you serious as the WWE champion if you're stuffing pancakes inside of that belt? That makes no sense. So I hate to say it, his run and his lead up to winning that championship, amazing. One of the best things that they've done, again, in 5 years. But since then, ever since he won the title, it all went downhill. And then they took it off him the way they did. Terrible. Seth Rollins, kind of the same thing. I mean, he is Seth Rollins, so he is a little bit of a top star, and he did take the championship seriously. So kudos to him for that. And you believed him as the champion the whole time that he had it. But you gave him feuds against Baron Corbin, who, with guys like Bobby Roode on the roster, you give Baron Corbin that heel spot? No sense whatsoever. And Drew McIntyre. You had Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins face off every other week previous to Seth Rollins winning the championship. And then when you can actually have Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins mean something, I don't think they touched a single time as when Seth Rollins was the Universal Champion. Absolutely no sense. Samoa Joe, another guy that could have been in that Baron Corbin spot. They have all this talent and they prefer to use lesser talent, if that makes any sense. So, and then obviously the Hell in a Cell fiasco with Bray Wyatt, the Money in the Bank shit with Brock Lesnar. I mean, why did Brock Lesnar need to win that Money in the Bank? For somebody just explain to me. He got a title shot. This is just the nonsensical booking that they use. Brock Lesnar came out, challenged Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship on just a random episode. I think it was Raw or SmackDown. Who cares? Came out, challenged, Kofi accepted. Brock Lesnar has a title match. So why did he have to win the Money in the Bank contract? He's Brock Lesnar. He can get a title shot any day of the week, twice on Sunday. So made no sense for Brock Lesnar to win yet another Money in the Bank wasted on a guy who didn't need it, when you could have given it to Andrade, Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre. I was going to say Baron Corbin, but no, fuck that. Because he had already won it before and failed. Even Randy Orton. Just anybody else other than Brock Lesnar could have used it. And no, not Mustafa Ali. Fuck that guy. And also, speaking of fuck that guy, Shorty G, Cedric Alexander, those two guys have been brought up, and Humberto Carrillo all of a sudden out of nowhere. Those three guys and Mustafa Ali and Shorty G, I don't know if I'm repeating myself. I think I am. But those guys, they have no charisma. Stop pushing them. You have guys that you can use like Bobby Roode and Ricochet and Aleister Black. Now, Aleister Black and Ricochet, not good on the mic either, but at least they're good in the ring, and they have some sort of a character to them that they can be pushed. Cedric Alexander, Shorty G, I don't even know what the fuck I'm calling them that for. Chad Gable, Cedric Alexander, Humberto Carrillo, Mustafa Ali, they have no character at all. Stop pushing them. Makes no sense. Andrade, you have Andrade. Andrade could have gotten a Universal title shot during the summer against Seth Rollins. But nope, they decided to go Baron Corbin, Brock Lesnar, and then going down Braun Strowman. They gave Braun Strowman another title shot. How many more title shots is Braun Strowman going to get before he gets released, basically? He's 0 for 38 in world title shot opportunities his whole career. Stop giving him title shots if he's not going to win it. Braun Strowman is just, ever since the Nicholas shit, he's just been a joke, at least in my eyes. Every time he comes out, at least not now, but because I don't watch anymore, but every time that he came out, I would just cringe. I would just be like, do I really want to watch this? And the answer has always been no. Leading us into the Bray Wyatt fiasco, the only thing that I was actually interested in them paying off, and they were actually building it. They had the Firefly Funhouse. They had those creepy vignettes with we didn't know if it was Bray Wyatt or not yet. Then the Firefly Funhouse, try saying that 3 times. They had that when it was revealed that Bray Wyatt was actually there. And I don't think they did the Fiend yet the first time that we saw the Funhouse. So they built up to the Fiend, revealing the Fiend, his new character. And then they kept building it. They did with those puppets being in the background of certain shots in backstage area. So they built that stuff, leading up to him actually coming out, attacking Kurt Angle, Jerry Lawler, and Mick Foley with the Mandible Claw. And then challenging Finn Balor at SummerSlam, him getting the win. Great entrance, great build-up, great momentum that The Fiend and Bray Wyatt had going into and after SummerSlam. Then at the Night of Champions, they kept the momentum going. Seth Rollins won the match, and then afterwards, Bray Wyatt came out, attacked him, set up the match for Hell in a Cell. We were like, alright, can they actually do something amazing this year, 2019? Will they actually have something good this year? So, going into Hell in a Cell once again, we were so hyped. That was there were like 3 matches announced for Hell in a Cell, by the way. And what the hell was that? Most of the card was filler, so that pay-per-view was solely gonna be built on whether or not The Fiend, if it main evented, and then at the end of the day it did, because if Sasha and Becky would have main evented, that probably would have saved the show. But The Fiend winning the Universal Championship would have sent fans home happy, no matter what else they've seen the rest of the show. So we get to the main event. First of all, it's red lighting in a red cell. You can't see what's going on. That's already terrible there, but we were putting up with that bullshit just because we thought we were going to get the payoff. And once again, when have we ever been meant to believe that WWE is going to pay anything off? But we had our hopes high for this. We were like, alright, we'll put up with this bullshit. Red lighting in the red cell to see the payoff of The Fiend getting the Universal Championship. And then they do it. Seth Rollins kills this guy. He hits him with like 11 curb stomps. And then he hits him in the head with like ladders, chairs, toolboxes. And then he gets a sledgehammer from under the ring. And the referee of all people is telling this guy, this is not you. You don't do this. It's not who you are. First of all, you're the referee. Stay the fuck out of it. It's a Hell in a Cell match. Let them go at it. Best man wins. Second of all, he calls for the damn... He doesn't even call DQ before he does it. He waits until he does it, and then he calls DQ. So he ends the match. So we're meant to believe that The Fiend is dead, right? Storyline purposes, he's dead, he's knocked out, whatever. The match ends in DQ. It's a Hell in a Cell match. There are no disqualifications. There are no countouts. Why do you end this match that way? Alright? So, not only that, but then The Fiend gets up after they come out with stretchers and stuff. You don't put The Undertaker on a stretcher. You don't put Kane on a stretcher. You do not put The Fiend on a stretcher and make him look human. I don't care what the hell just happened to him. He cut out, fade to black, he disappears. But they're putting him on stretchers, and then he gets up and attacks Seth Rollins. If you were still able to get up, why did the referee call for the match? They should have just restarted it or kept it going and said, oh, The Fiend is good to go. This match continues. Let's go. Or have Seth Rollins pin him. End the match. Don't end it in a DQ. So that pissed off a lot of fans. The ratings have showed it. I've shown it. I haven't watched Raw or SmackDown since. I've kept up with it, like I said, with that podcast. But yeah, WWE has just been terrible. I'm done. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm done watching," but they keep watching. And there are some fans that have actually stopped watching, and I believe them. Now you can believe me. I stopped watching. And the only reason you got this WWE recap was just for me to vent my frustrations. And even if nobody watches this, I just want to have this on my channel so I can remember this time in WWE and wrestling history. As long as this video and YouTube is up, 20 years from now I can go back and be like, ooh, what is this video about? Click it and be like, oh yeah, it's that time that WWE sucked and then led them to bankruptcy, and then they had to close down, and AEW bought them out in that great buyout of 2021. No, I'm just kidding. But WWE has so much money, they could go for like another 20 years probably. At least, how many more years do they have with Saudi Arabia and Fox? They have like 5 with Fox and then like 10 with Saudi Arabia, so they have another 15 years worth of money that they have stored in their back pocket that they can run this company, and then anything that they make from WrestleMania and the network, that's just extra money. So you shouldn't expect WWE to go to close its doors anytime soon, but you can't expect them to start getting better anytime soon either. I mean, I should do a podcast or a video on like all the small details that they would cover in the Attitude Era. It's unbelievable. You'll be like, oh, we don't really care about that detail, but they went out of their way to explain everything in detail. But they didn't explain it like Michael Cole does with certain matches, like, oh, this is a false count anywhere match. And remember, a false count anywhere means they can pin anywhere in the state and even outside of the state. Oh, if they're in the concession stand, they can pin there. Oh wait, they're in the ring, they can pin there as well. Oh, they're on top of the table. No, they didn't explain stuff like that. They would throw it in there just to let you know what's going on in a subtle way, and then keep going with the storyline. And character development, I mean, oh my god, character development was such a crucial part in the Attitude Era. Imagine Kurt Angle never having character development. He would have just been the Olympic asshole that probably would have never gotten over if he never did any of that funny stuff, any of that humor stuff. What else did he do that got him over? The wrestling, like he actually put on good wrestling matches. He got intense. His character developed throughout his years. Now, who can you say has developed? Even Roman Reigns, the top guy, or at least top guy in their eyes, how has he developed from the Shield? What is different about him now that was not there when he was in the Shield? Absolutely nothing. Who else? I mean, Randy Orton hasn't developed either, and he's one of their legends. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, I kind of want to do that now. Just kind of go through like 3 month span of the Attitude Era, just seeing how the storylines progress. I mean, just a different time. I don't know what is gonna take for them to actually change. When What's Wrong with Wrestling tells me that it's gotten better, I'll start watching again. But until then, I'm just gonna be listening to their podcast to be keeping up with this stuff. They have another Saudi Arabia show. Once again, I don't care them going there. Who would turn down that amount of money, even though if it is blood money, decapitation money? Let me stop before they come after me. Anything I said in the last 5 seconds about Saudi Arabia, I did not really mean. But yeah, who would turn down that money? Obviously, Vince McMahon would not. So I don't blame them for going to Saudi Arabia as much as I blame them for... You know what? I do blame them for going there because it's such a terrible country. Once again, the last 5 seconds that I've said about Saudi Arabia, I did not mean, just for the record. But I wouldn't blame Vince. I don't blame Vince McMahon for taking the money. It's a terrible way that he's done it, and he's a terrible person. Probably, we all know that. He's probably he sold his soul to the devil. Can we be honest? He probably sold his soul to the devil. All the stuff that has come out about WWE that has just been swept under the rug, and now we're actually seeing it. He's supposedly the main guy making all the decisions, and it's just terrible. And in the Attitude, or before the Attitude Era, some of the stuff was terrible as well. The Attitude Era some of that stuff was terrible as well. I mean, you had Mae Young giving birth to a hand. You had Miss Ark Henry, blackface. I don't even want to get started with the whole Jordan Miles T-shirt controversy. him saying the N-word on to John Cena, the Lucha House Party, even though as much as I hate the Lucha House Party, they come out with freaking piñatas. It's a damn stereotype. How are you getting away with this stuff? You know what I mean? So yeah, Vince McMahon sold his soul to the devil a long ass time ago. Ooh, my voice cracked. I see why he took the money, but stop promoting it on TV. We don't want to see these meaningless matches being built up for a meaningless show, which is basically a glorified super house show that is not going to have any consequences afterwards. So why are you building it and wasting TV time that you could be using to develop other characters, other storylines for another pay-per-view down the line? They never had storylines going into Beast in the East, or what other ones did they have? That's the only one that comes to mind. They never had any storylines going into that Tokyo house show that they promoted on the network. So why are they doing it now? Makes no sense. Or even back in the day for Insurrection, or I remember No Mercy used to be, I think No Mercy was in the UK the first year. Those European house shows that would be billed as pay-per-views, they never had any builds on TV. So why are they doing it now? I just don't like that they're billing it and wasting time on TV to build to these terrible glorified house shows that have no consequences afterwards. So yeah, if you're gonna watch Crown Jewel, let me know how it went. AEW on the good steady rise. Now I'm gonna give it about another month and a half to kind of develop its stars and stuff before I actually have a full-on conclusion on how I enjoy the show or not. Just because it's something different. I'm not watching WWE or NXT except for when AEW gives me a shit ending, like a draw to end the show. But I'm not watching WWE or NXT, so AEW is the only wrestling I'm watching basically at the time right now, and keeping up with it on a consistent basis. So hopefully they can not mess up like TNA did and just push old guys and have terrible wrestling matches. So far they're not doing that. So far they're okay. Hopefully they continue to do good. I would say hopefully they make a WWE better, but it's probably not going to happen. NXT is going to be doing fine. NXT doesn't have really a deep roster besides the top guys that they have. The women's division isn't good either. Shayna Baszler as the women's champion has been doing nothing for me. Who are the tag champs? Oh, the Undisputed Era have all the belts. I forgot about that. That was a great moment. But yeah, Full Gear coming up in 2 weeks. Excited to see what happens there. There's some decent matches on that card. We're finally going to get to see Moxley and Omega, hopefully. Jericho defending the belt against Cody. Lucha Bros versus... Oh, actually, not Lucha Bros. They'll probably have a match there again against SCU. But, the Young Bucks taking on Santana and Ortiz, and probably Hangman Page and Pac. Or Pac or Pac? I don't know. That we'll probably be seeing that match there. So Full Gear shaping out to possibly be a decent card, probably one of the better, probably again one of the best pay-per-views of 2019 for wrestling. I don't know what other pay-per-views you guys are watching if you're looking at this video, but hey, boxing, MMA, probably one of the best pay-per-views of the year. Full Gear. I'm still not gonna be forking over $50 for that. Maybe if it's $30, I'll think about it. But I'm not going over $30 for that pay-per-view. If you guys want to send me over $50, and I'll review Full Gear, get the pay-per-view, review it. Send me those $50. I'll send you my Venmo, my Cash App, my PayPal, all that good stuff. No, I'm just playing. So that's gonna be it. I talked everything that I could about the world of wrestling today and my thoughts on AEW and the current state of WWE, how terrible it is. And again, NXT is just doing its thing, staying on track, not doing anything terrible like the main roster is. So yeah, but I still don't really want to do anything with WWE, so I don't watch NXT. Please go check out that 2015 retrospective video. Hoping to have a 2016 one out. I'm dealing with some copyright issues with that video, It's up, but it's just pictures. The original one had a whole bunch of clips of WWE in it. I probably should have known it was going to get taken down, but I'm dealing with some copyright stuff. If I can get that taken care of, a 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and possibly other years of WWE retrospective will be out. But for now, go check out that 2015 retrospective. Let me know what your thoughts on it. If 2015 really was the start of what has become the shit show that it is today. So please, thank you, and good night.